Hi, everybody. Today on Lead with Love, we're going to talk about faux pas and fine print. Situations where an announcer says something and hasn't really done the research to make sure that what he's saying is correct, and also the fine print on some commercials. We're going to cover two commercials today. One on a very widely used weight reduction drug, and the other one on a cable company. It has to do with fine print, reading the fine print. That today on Lead with Love. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Greco. I'm your host for the next, I'd say 15, 20 minutes or so. This is going to be relatively a shortened Lead with Love because we're just going to cover a couple of things. And then on Thursday's show, what I want to do is cover the idea of climate change and how climate, they meaning the individuals that are really pressing home this climate change, are using temperature as a way of indicating whether or not we are complying with whatever we need to do. Also a little bit about COP28 and the rest of that area. So we'll cover all that on Thursday. But today, what I wanted to hit was some faux pas and fine print. So that's going to be the discussion, the way we're going to go. So the first thing I want to talk about are faux pas. And this is interesting because basically what I heard was, everybody who listens to talk shows, whether you like it or not, they're kind of all encompassing, all pervasive. And the one talk show I was listening to, and it's a guy by the name of Stu. He's on the Glenn Beck show. And for entertainment purposes, and this is very important to understand, for entertainment purposes, you can't beat that show. I mean, it's very entertaining, but you have to get out of the evoking emotion thing. That's what talk shows do. They try to get you to become emotionally invested in what the show is, and then all of a sudden you're kind of like, I'm with you. So Stu made two faux pas. Now look, this is, people are going to say, oh, look, you're being unfair, and really I kind of am, is because there's so much going on these shows. And there's so much data, there's so much research that's already been done. But I think just little things just really, it got to me because I lived through these eras that he's talking about. And unfortunately, I know right offhand that he's wrong, literally wrong. So basically what happened is at one point he says something about, they were talking about something about, I don't know if it was Africa or whether it was just generally in general aspects. And he said something like, people drinking Kool-Aid, in the deserts of Africa. And then suddenly I realized, I thought, wait a minute, nobody drank Kool-Aid. I mean, he was inferring poisoned Kool-Aid. So if you know about the Jonestown area, James Jones and in fact, I may even have the name wrong, so there's another faux pas. But basically, Jonestown. And Jonestown was in Guyana. He thinks, or inferred from his statement, that and Jonestown, people committed suicide. I mean, hundreds of people committed suicide by drinking poisoned Kool-Aid voluntarily. As a matter of fact, they did drills, and then they basically Jones did this. I mean, it was kind of sad. So what happened is that this is in Guyana. So I want to show you the difference. And Guyana is very important right now in the news because, and it's for another purpose, but it's very, very important to understand where Guyana is and then where Ghana is. And I think there's a big difference. There's an ocean separating those two countries. So what we're going to do is we're just going to very quickly go through some geography here. First of all, so let's go here, and we're hitting here, and here's Guyana. Here's Guyana right here. Now, this is Venezuela. This is Venezuela. This is South America. just to give it, just to make the point, this is South America. This is where Guyana is. Used to be a British colony. Now basically independent, and but only, I think it only got its independence like 1966. So it hasn't been a country all that long, you know. So this is what it is. Now, interestingly enough, here's Georgetown. Georgetown, you know, it's funny that Georgetown is there. It's the uh, uh, one of the major cities here there in Guyana, and you know, all of a sudden you sit back and you go, "Whoa, wait a minute, what's you know?" So now what's happening is Guyana has discovered oil off their shore. Venezuela has just made a vote, a referendum vote, that they own the area southwest in the southwest part of Venezuela. So basically, what's happening is they say, "Oh, I own the area, including the oil that has been found." So here's another possibility for invasion right here. Here's another possibility that they're going to invade Guyana and take the area that they consider to be part of Venezuela. There are Venezuelans there in that portion of Guyana, and the same thing's happening in Armenia and Azerbaijan. Same thing happened in Ukraine. Same thing. There's a lot of areas, and all of a sudden are saying, well, if we have people there, then it must be our area. So there's a lot of bad situations that could happen here as a result of that vote, and that vote was passed. So the majority of people want this land. They want it in Venezuela. Bad situation. Now, difference. There's Guyana, right? Now we go over here and we take a look at Ghana. That's Ghana. First of all, it's not in a desert. This is the desert area here. Okay. But it's situations like this, and I think it's just a shame because I know that the Glenn Beck Show has a lot of researchers. Why did they let him make that faux pas? They should have never let him do that. They should have pointed out, look, if you're going to go to Jonestown, this is the background behind it. They should have fed that to him, and I'm almost positive they have instantaneous feeds that they can feed information, or there's a production person in the booth that can get on and say, hey, Stu, guess what? Guyana is not where you think it is. Guyana is over in South America. You know, this is over in Ghana. You know, this goes to show the geographic illiteracy that we have in this country. People do not understand what the world is all about. They have no idea where half these countries are. I mean, it's really a shame when it comes down to it. And I was an intelligence officer, so you had to know this stuff. But daggum, you know, come on. So I kind of let that one go. But the second one, I thought I'm gonna talk about this. And here's the second one. He started talking about people speaking Swahili in Nigeria. So let me make something very clear. There is a distinct difference between West Africa, and if you take a look at this, this is Nigeria, which is in West Africa, okay? This is where Swahili is spoken. Swahili is spoken where? In Uganda. That's East Africa. So, I mean, Nigeria, it's kind of ironic, really. Nigeria, Niger, all those, they were at one point French. So basically what's happening is that like Niger, they speak French. Mali, they speak French. And it's funny because Niger was kicking out the French and they were making signs in French. So I was like, you know, what the heck, you know? But this. So again, come on, guys. You know, not to do a Biden thing, but basically it's this. Do the research. Do the research. What you're trying to do is you're trying to evoke emotion. And I get that. I really understand the evoking the emotion thing, you know. And I'm sure probably get a thing from, you know, the show saying, hey, Chris, cease and desist. You know, I don't have a recording of this guy saying this. All I know is that he did say it on both issues. And it takes so little effort to just correct that. Just say, look, the other day I was talking about Guyana, or, you know, I was talking about, you know, people drink Kool-Aid in the middle of the African desert. mistake. It was Guyana, it was South America, and then go into some of the background. It was Jonestown. This is a situation. I mean, it's pretty easy to sit back and go, hey, this is what we're talking about, right? When we talk about that area. So I think that when we when we talk about those areas and we talk about, hey, things you could do, I think it's possible to be able to do what needs to be done, right? And it's not simple. Nothing is simple in the research area. And by the way, it was James Jones. By the way, it was James Jones. Jim Jones is what they call him, basically. But that's what Jonestown was all about. And look at the story is amazing. I mean, it's amazingly sad, is what it is. But so that's what we're talking about when we talk about countries, right? So we talk about faux pas. These are faux pas. And as I keep listening to more and more and more of these shows, I'm going to start. I'm going to start throwing this stuff out, saying, "Look, just fact check. This is the fact check. It wasn't Jonestown was not in Ghana, and it was not in the African desert. It was in Guyana, and also Nigeria does not speak Swahili. Doesn't. Uganda speaks Swahili. You can, that's a specific country that speaks Swahili. So you can do these types of things, and this just goes to show that a lot of people misunderstand African culture and African languages. I mean, a lot of these countries over in the West Side speak French. They speak French. Morocco, they speak French. I mean, a lot of them. Ethiopia. It's funny. Ethiopia was at one point an Italian colony. They actually speak Italian. You can speak Italian to them. So it's stuff like that you just sit back and go, oh, okay. It's just understanding some of the history. So that's the faux pas. Now let's go to the fine print. Let's talk about some fine print aspects, because I think this is important too. So the first one we're going to talk about is a commercial. So this is the commercial, and it goes all the way through, and I'm just going to kind of put it through because this is what I wanted you to see. This is called fine print. And it's funny because if you do fine print, this is the fine print. Okay? $49.99 a month for 12 months. Now, this is really, really fine print in here. Free advanced Wi-Fi for 12 months. Free one-line unlimited mobile for 12 months. It's only for 12 months. Everyone sits back and goes, I'm going to pay $49.99 from now till doomsday. It's only for 12 months. This is not hard, and this is not that small a print. Why is it that people say, all of a sudden, 12 months later, they get a raise in price? Because you will get a raise in price if you go with these people. They will raise the price in 1 year. You have to be a brand new customer. That means you'd have to get out and then come back in, but you have to wait a certain amount of period of time. Where's that? It's in the fine print. The fact that it's going to go up is in the fine print. All this is right here. Very, very difficult to see. Very difficult to read. Sometimes what I do is I literally, I'm on my TV, I will stop the commercial and read the fine print. Everybody needs to read the fine print. Let me ask you something. If the students that currently have student loan debt would have read the fine print from the bank and had their parents or somebody they trust, a lawyer or whatever, read that fine print, do you think they'd be in the same trouble that they're in right now? I don't know about that. So that's one of the commercials, right? The next one we're going to talk about is this one. This is a commercial for a drug that is a commonly used weight loss drug. Commonly used weight loss drug. And what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can see some of these. So, injectable prescription medication used along with diet and exercise. You can't just use this alone. You have to do diet and exercise with type 2 diabetes to improve blood sugar and lower the risk of major cardiovascular events such as heart attack, stroke, adults with type 2 diabetes. Okay, fine. That's fine. So then you have some other ones here. You have some other fine print stuff here. So here, Ozempic is not a weight loss drug. Ozempic is not a weight loss drug. What's it being used for now? Weight loss. Ozempic is not, it's right here. Now, true, it's small print, but it ain't that small. Individual results may vary. In 2 different studies, adults with starting average of A1C of 8% and 8.9% when Ozempic was added to a placebo and 1 to 2 died. So this is part of the deal, right? In 2 different studies. So they, in other words, it brings down the A1C. So a lot of people sit back and they go, well, I'd rather have this than insulin. Well, let me ask you a question. You inject insulin, right? You got to inject this. This is an injectable. It's I'm sorry. I'm not a diabetic, so I can't relate to that. And maybe other diabetics say, Chris, you're full of crap. I'd rather inject this like once every 2 weeks than inject insulin, 4 or 5 times a day. So that's it with that. And then we have this. In 2 different studies, adults with starting average of A1C of 8.0 and 8.9% with Ozempic was added to placebo. Ozempic, 73%, 0.5 milligrams, and 70%, 1 milligram versus placebo, 28%. So in other words, I must lower it that much. It has to do with the actual talking about, because they have to say it in the commercial, but then they have to qualify it in the small print. Ozempic, 56%, 1 milligram, and 64%, 2 milligrams. So, I mean, it all depends what you're taking and how much you're taking. So, I mean, this is, was placed and to 1 or 2 diabetes pills, respectively, was added to placebo and to 1 or 2 diabetes pills, respectively. So, I mean, again, this is small print, right? And then lowers the risk of major cardiovascular events in adults with type 2 diabetes with known heart disease. With known heart disease. So again, you got to read this fine print, folks. I mean, it's something that we have here. Then it says, adult loss up to 14 pounds. Up to 14 pounds. Read the small print. Is not a weight loss drug. In the same 2 studies looking at A1C, adults lost on average for Ozempic 8 pounds when you had 0.5 milligrams, 10 pounds, average. You've got to, take that into consideration. Versus placebo, 3 pounds. So they lost 3 pounds on a placebo. Interesting. 12 pounds if they take the 1 milligram and 14 pounds. From an average starting weight of 202 pounds and 219 pounds, respectively. This is the starting weight, folks. Starting weight. So, I mean, so that all that is taken into consideration. Again, small print. Ozempic is not approved for use in children under 18 years of age. Tell your provider if you're breastfeeding, pregnant, plan to be, all that. Do not share needles. Do not reuse needles. So, I mean, and then, let's see. Symptoms of serious allergic reaction include swelling of your face, lips, tongue, or throat, problems breathing or swallowing, severe rash or itching, fainting or feeling dizzy, or very rapid heartbeat. In addition, Journal of American Medical Association just came out with some other aspects about Ozempic that some other affectations. So that's, I mean, it's just the way it is. Okay, that pretty much, I think that pretty much does it. So, I mean, common side effects: nausea, drinking plenty of fluids may reduce your chance of dehydration. Well, yeah, okay. So, I mean, all this, and then you have this. Applies to eligible, commercially insured patients only. This is what it is. This is what this is. Eligibility and other restrictions apply. See terms and conditions, whatever it is. Novo Nordisk. So that's what we're talking about with that. So, I mean, this is, when we talk about these things, we talk about small print. I'm going to put up some more commercials with this stuff. You got to read the small print. Got to read it, because I'll tell you right now, you are a partner in your care. You are a partner in your care, which means you have to know what you're doing. Don't just let a doctor sit there and say, yeah, do that. Go take this drug, go do this. What? Think about your individual case-by-case basis. Don't just I'm sorry, but I don't take a doctor's word for anything. I sit back and I go, okay, well, I will take a look at it. I'll do some research. I'll figure out what's going on. I'll figure out the different studies. By the way, what study was that? The Cleveland Clinic, was Journal of American Medical Association, University of Washington. What was the study? And make them tell you if they don't know the name of the study. Are you willing to take a drug that the doctor can't even state what study they just did? So to me, it's kind of like, a doctor is a partner in your care. Partner in your care. They shouldn't be telling you this is what you need to do and this is what you need to do. Boom. They can recommend, they can suggest, but they cannot tell you what to do ever. They can't tell you what to do ever. They can recommend, they can suggest, they can do those types of things. They have more medical experience than you do, of course, but you know your own body and you know exactly what's going on. I mean, isn't that the big thing now? Is everybody is in charge of their own bodies? Then why don't we just do that? Why don't we make that work? So these are the types of things that just research. I'm going to put that in this one word, and it's so important, this one word. And I think it's something that people research. Just go out on the internet. By God, you can go out on the internet and do searches, right? I mean, this is what you can do. So if you do this, I think that it will bring about a much better situation overall, because all of a sudden you'll sit back and go, okay, this is what I have, this is what I do. I'm going to go ahead and do those types of things. And I think if you do that, you're going to find that you're going to make better decisions with the doctor, because the doctor will then realize that you have a say. If you don't say anything, if you just say, okay, doctor, I'm going to go out and I'm going to take this injectable, ask about the effects. Say, look, I just heard, I heard on a YouTube channel or, Pod TV, that there was some additional adverse effects from Wegovy and from Ozempic and from all these other semaglutides. What exactly are those? And they have to gallbladders and different organ aspects. And there's some issues here. And by the way, when you're on Ozempic, you're on it for the, and the doctor is probably not going to say this, but there's been some very, very interesting studies having to do with people that have quit Ozempic, have quit Wegovy, have quit these things, and all of a sudden they got a rebound effect. So you need to ask the doctor this: am I going to be on this the rest of my life? When can I stop this? Can I stop it at any point? And the doctor will tell you yes or no, because that at that point is their reputation. If they say, no, you will not be on it the rest of your life, and 5 years later you're still on it, it's kind of like, hey, what's going on? I asked you this before. Every time you're going in for a medical, am I still on Wegovy or still on Ozempic? What's going on? What's the situation? All these things. So I think the more that you do this, the more that you talk about these things, the more that it just works. So try not to let the doctor bully you, especially if you're a senior, especially if you're 70 or 80. Don't let the doctor bully you in any way, shape, or form. You make sure you go in there well prepared with questions, and you ask the questions, and it isn't that you demand, but you certainly insist that doctor give you all the information that they have. And if not, that they give you some studies or something else that they can refer to that you can take a look at, and you can make whatever decision you need to make there. So that pretty much is it for today. Again, we talked about faux pas, different aspects, and fine print. Both those things, what you need to do is research. Just good, solid research. And yes, I make faux pas all the time. Yes, I get that. But I don't have an audience that's this gigantic million people audience, or whatever it is, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 100 million people that are listening to my show, and all of a sudden, go out there and emotionally invest in the show itself. I try to present facts. I try to present those things that, hey, we need to just correct this. Geographic illiteracy, we need to correct that at the school level. At the school level. This is ridiculous. There are PhDs out there right now, and I'm telling you, there are PhDs out there right now that cannot put together a cogent sentence, and that cannot in any way, shape, or form tell the difference between Guyana and Ghana. And they're out there. Trust me. So it's the situation that, what are we teaching our kids, and what are we doing to make sure that they understand literacy? What are they doing from that standpoint? So enough on my show soapbox. Thank you so much for watching. Lead with Love. This is kind of like a worldview Lead with Love, but however you want to do it. So on Thursday, what we'll do is we'll talk about regression analysis and talk about climate change and how that all works. So until then, this is Chris Greco saying thank you again for watching, and try to lead with love, right? Learn, offer, value, educate. Learn what you can learn. Offer to people that which you've learned. Value them in the long run, because you wouldn't be sharing like I share. I try to share what I know because I value people. I try to value everybody. And educate. Educate yourself, educate others. Try to do those things that need to be done. So until next time, take care and have a great day.